98 Sports Talk here with my new channel. You guys appreciate if you guys hit the sub button down below. I'm going to be trying to do content daily, if not every other day. I'm going to turn this into a just sports channel in general. Been talking a lot about college football, obviously, because that's hot. Wanted to talk today a little bit about UCF and the college football playoffs. I've seen a lot of chatter on, UCF should have gotten in, this and that, and they were the hot team this year. They were 13-0. But the fact of the matter is, they shouldn't have gotten in, to be honest. They were 13-0. You can only do what's, you can only beat whoever's on your schedule. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is they didn't beat a good team outside of, I will give them credit for beating Auburn in the bowl game. But the only team they beat during the regular season, before the committee had to take a look and see, hey, do they deserve to be in? The only team that they actually beat was, or I should say the best team that they beat was Memphis, which wasn't a very good team. So and they beat Memphis twice. But you've got to look at that and say, okay, well, who did these guys beat to get to 13-0? And if they didn't beat anybody, much like, look at Wisconsin. I mean, they didn't play anybody either. And then they get up against Ohio State, who lost 2 games in the Big Ten championship, and then they lose. So I think, you would have seen the same thing happen, at UCF if they would have gotten into the college, if they would have gotten into the 4-team playoff. First of all, I think that would have been insane. There's no way you can put them in. But if they did, I think they would have lost pretty badly to any of the other, the other 3 teams. So that was, and I'm assuming it would have been Clemson, Oklahoma, and Georgia, and Bama would have been left out in that scenario. But let's be honest. I mean, what are you going to do? Leave Bama out and put UCF in? I mean, come on. Does anybody really think that UCF would beat Alabama if those 2 teams met on a neutral field? I mean, no. Bama's going to beat them by 3 touchdowns minimum, probably. So, the discussion of should UCF be in the playoffs, I mean, I guess it sounds great to talk about, but the short answer is no. Now, what about next season? They beat Auburn in the bowl game, in the Peach Bowl. So that that gives them a little bump there for the future. So when the committee next year, if they have another undefeated season, which I don't think they will because they're losing Scott Frost, but if they have another undefeated season, then that'll be a little feather in their cap to say, hey, well, we beat a good SEC team last year, in a bowl game. We proved that, hey, we can hang with the big boys. Then you may have to take a look at them. I will admit, if you have 2 back-to-back undefeated seasons, you have a win against an Auburn team. Even though if you go back and you watch, I don't think Auburn really cared to be in that game, to be honest. And I believe if they played that game 100 times, Auburn's still going to win upwards of 90%, and that's if that game really means something. Auburn just didn't care. And you guys can dog me in the comments all you want, if you want to, and say UCF is the better team because they beat them on the field. But let's be real. I mean, Auburn didn't care about that game. They had national title aspirations, and once that was gone, then their season's over, basically. As far as and then we can talk about expanding the playoffs. Should we go beyond 4 teams for the playoff? Because you had a lot of people arguing for Ohio State and UCF to get in this year. My thoughts on it are, there's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, you've got to get all these presidents and whoever else is voting for these universities to buy into this, and that's probably going to cost them a home game, because I'm imagining you would end up taking a regular season game off the schedule to fit in another playoff game, which in a playoff game will be at a neutral site. So you're talking about taking away revenue from these schools, and obviously they don't like that. They want to get all the money. So that's one reason I don't think you're going to see it. Another reason is I mean, if we expand the playoffs, I mean, how because people are crying about, well, we should have had a fifth team in there because, UCF should have been there, Ohio State should have been there, blah, blah, blah. I mean, even if we would have had an 8-team playoff, people would have been crying about the ninth team that didn't get in there, like, I don't know who the ninth team was, but, people would have been crying that Notre Dame didn't get in there, or LSU didn't get in there, or Wisconsin was right around that area. People would have cried that Wisconsin did get in. So I think people just need to, give it a rest a little bit and, quit whining, quit being a snowflake. I mean, toughen up a little bit. If you want to be in the 4-team playoff, you know what you got to do. You've got to win you pretty much have to win all your games or have just one loss, and you've got to play somebody. I mean, everybody knows this. It's not like, this is a news flash here. If you want to be in the playoffs, you've got to have at least one decent team on your schedule, and you've got to have one loss or less, pretty much. I mean, could you get in there with 2? Yeah, you could. I think it's possible, but, you're going to have to be in a big-time conference to do that. You're going to have to be, obviously in Alabama and Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, and those 2 losses are going to have to be very close losses, and they're going to have to be to good teams. Where Ohio State screwed up this year, you can't get your second loss can't be a blowout to a garbage Iowa team. That's what killed them. So do we expand the playoffs? I don't think so. The other thing you've got to consider too is everybody just thinks it's so easy to just throw in another game in there. Well, there's these kids are still students. Even though a lot of them from the Power Fives are, let's be real, they're just trying to get to the NFL, and that's okay. I have no problem with that. They're just trying to get to the NFL and get paid. No issues with that. But the fact of the matter is they've still got classes to pass, all right? And the vast majority of the kids, they're not going to make it into the NFL, so their degree means something. So they've got to have time to study. They got to have time to take these finals and do what they need to do off the field. So you're also taking time away from them. I mean, they are student athletes, like it or not. I mean, I get it. They're, most of these big time schools, they just, they're trying to go to the NFL, but still they've got to pass their classes. So that's another argument against, I think, expanding the current playoff system. The format they got right now, I mean, I kind of like it. We've only had it, I guess it's pretty new, but I kind of like the fact that you've got, a national semifinal on, you've got both games on one day, and it's kind of, everything, you've got to win. It's all on the line on that day for those 2 teams. Everybody's paying attention to it. It's huge games, lots of excitement. It also generates a lot of conversation. I mean, that's what you see around the internet and people talking. I mean, if you had a 16-team playoff or an 8-team playoff, there would be less interest in the sport in general, just because, I mean, you're just throwing every team in there. I mean, who cares, right? So that kind of kills the conversation, and killing the conversation is killing interest in the sport, like it or not. Just the fact that people are arguing about, well, UCF should have gotten in, or Ohio State should have gotten in, or I hate the SEC. The SEC shouldn't have 2 teams in. Bama shouldn't have been in. I hate the fact that you've got an all SEC championship. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. All of this is great for college football because it sparks debate. People get talking about it. It's interesting. It's fun to talk about. It's all of that. So in the old saying, any press is good press, even if it's bad press. So and that's kind of another topic too. I thought about doing a video on is the fact that we've got an all SEC national championship a good thing for college football? I tend to think it is, for that same reason, because hey, it's great because the SEC people love it. Everybody that hates the SEC, they get to talk about it, and they get to hate the SEC even more, right? Which generates, more interest for next season. So they can hate on the SEC next season. Haters are going to hate. It is what it is. So I just think, I think anytime you're creating interest and generating interest, getting people to talk about football, it's a good thing. So I don't think you expand the playoffs for that reason. I think 4 teams is the right number. People are always going to cry about the team that got left out. It is what it is. Don't be a snowflake, folks. I mean, man up, get some thick skin. If you want to be in the playoffs, win your games and put some decent teams on the schedule. If you don't want to put decent teams on the schedule, you better be a Power 5 team and you better win every single one of your games. This is the formula. It's been like this for years. I mean, winning trumps everything. So just win your games and play, play a decent team. If you're a small school, you've got to take some chances. You've got to put some of these Power 5 teams on your schedule, and you've got to beat them. That's the only way you're going to get in the conversation. That's the only way you're going to get into the college football playoff. But UCF, I don't know. I can't even remember if I addressed earlier, but they're talking about doing parades and declaring a national championship. That's just, I mean, come on, UCF. You had everybody on your bandwagon, and now you've just gone a little bit too far with this. Relax. You're not the national champ. You wouldn't beat Bama. You wouldn't beat Clemson. You wouldn't beat Georgia. You wouldn't beat Oklahoma. So just chill and, look forward to next season. You guys had a great season, 13-0. But come on, national champs, get real. Get real. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit that sub button. Give me a comment. If you want to see a video, let me know. I'll do it.